Hello, my name is Keith Leitner, and I'm the author of the recently published book, The Journey, A Guide to Lean Transformation Success. And I have been working with lean transformations for over 30 years now and have worked in and had the honor and privilege to work in a variety of different industries, from repetitive manufacturing to non-repetitive manufacturing, like shipbuilding, repair environments, engineering service types of organizations, and for the last 20 years in healthcare and virtually every area of healthcare that you could imagine, from emergency medicine to clinical care to support areas to operating rooms and so forth. And while every transformation has been unique, and rightly so, and every transformation, lean transformation will be unique, there are things that are pretty common, and there are mistakes, unfortunately, that are commonly made by organizations. And so that's led me today to our talk, which I'm calling the five things that I wish every CEO would consider when either starting a lean transformation or even revitalizing a lean transformation. So, this is intended to be the five things that will allow the CEOs to avoid some of the more common pitfalls and mistakes that basically hamper the ability to be as successful as you could be with your lean transformation efforts. So the first thing that I wish every CEO would consider is, first and foremost, where do we need to focus? Lean, unfortunately, a lot of times is treated as something that can be and should be just rolled out through the entire organization. And that leads to rolling out training and tools and those types of things, and frequently leads to people feeling that their transformation efforts and the resources that they're putting into it is not really leading to a lot of results. And what I would challenge from the very beginning is the goal is not to be lean. The goal is to improve the mission of the organization utilizing lean, because lean is a set of concepts and tools and management descriptions that are designed to further your organizational mission. So the goal of lean is to further your mission. So first and foremost, the CEOs need to decide, where does the mission need to be furthered? Where do we have the biggest benefit? Where do we have the biggest area of need? Where do we have the biggest shortfall? So look at things from that perspective and say, okay, what do we need to be doing better? And so when you think about lean, when I teach lean in combination with a philosophy called theory of constraints. And when you look at it from that perspective, as I think the most successful lean organizations do, they treat lean as a growth strategy. So lean is not about cutting, it's not about reducing costs, it's about growing capacity within your organization. And so in this case, what we're talking about doing is growing capacity to be able to grow your ability to satisfy your mission. And when you think about that financially, any type of incremental capacity growth over your existing resources has a huge bottom line contribution potential as well. So this is great for improving the financial structure of the organization, not by reducing costs, by increasing revenue over existing costs. And again, that revenue is linked to your mission needs. So first and foremost, identifying where you need to focus. The unfortunate thing about this too is to recognize that focus implies sacrifice. So if I'm focusing on one thing, that by definition means I'm not focusing on others. So this focusing needs to come from the CEO. This needs to be something that's very clear from the CEO that, this is where we as an organization are going to put resources. Secondly, once you have done that, I think it's incumbent on, and the thing that I wish every CEO would do when starting lean transformation or revitalizing one, is to take that area of focus that they've just created and say, what is our vision for what we are going to be when we have achieved greater results in these areas. There's a wonderful book called Appreciative Inquiry. It was written sometime back. I think there's a series of books. But one of the things about appreciative inquiry is it challenges you to look at things from a positive perspective. It's all about the power of the positive, and it challenges you to, instead of focusing on the challenges or the shortcomings and so forth, to instead create a vision that can drive and motivate the organization. They challenge you to ask the question, wouldn't it be amazing if? And you fill in the if and link that to the area of focus that we've just talked about. So, for example, a healthcare, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create the capacity to have same day access for our patients? Wouldn't it be amazing if we could get 20% more surgeries in our OR within the existing space and resources that we have? Wouldn't it be amazing if we could grow our ability to produce these particular products? There was an organization I worked with there. Wouldn't it be amazing if wouldn't it be amazing if we could finally catch up that 3 months of backlog of work that we've had for the last 10 years? So that vision, again, is something that your folks can align to, and it's something that will motivate action. And it also leads into the following, wouldn't it be great if our CEOs did this? So number three, the third thing that I wish that the CEO would consider when either starting or revitalizing lean transformation is, now that I've identified an area of focus and I've identified this vision of where we're going to go, is to then think through very critically what resources are going to be needed to support that vision realization. Lean is not something that will happen because we want it to. This is something that will happen when we commit resources to that. And so thinking through what resources that we need to be committing there. First and foremost, there needs to be a key internal resource. There are going to be internal resources, obviously, they're committed, but there needs to be one key internal resource that's going to be the person that's going to be leading the efforts towards realizing that vision. You, as the CEO, will be the champion for these efforts. You, as the CEO, will be involved in making sure that you're providing this leader with whatever they need to move the organization forward. But it's probably not something that you're going to be able to have the time to be able to lead it directly. So who is that key leader it's going to be? Who is the person that's going to be able to commit enough of their time to be able to drive this forward and realize this vision? How much time we're talking about really depends on the size of the effort. In some cases, it's, a 10 to 20% commitment on an existing leader. So that means you need to free up 10 to 20% of their current workload to be able to do that. In some cases, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time position to do that. And so you either need to identify that person and then replace them so that they're freed up to do this, or you need to hire this in from the outside. There will be lots of internal resources along the way. We'll talk about that here a little bit later, but identifying that key internal resource that's going to drive it. Second thing would be to consider external resources. So this is where a lot of unfortunate lean transformations go wrong, and they try to basically farm out their transformation to external resources. They bring in consulting firms or so forth to do these things, and that just does not work. Your lean efforts need to be driven from within, from the folks that are actually doing the work, and we'll talk about that again here in just a minute. But you may want some external resources to help with some of the initial education, to work as a role as a facilitator for improvement activities, to be a sounding board to changes as you go through, to be a mentor to yourself and your key leader. But it's very important. These resources need to come in to support your program, working in your area of focus, delivering your vision with a methodology that works for your organization. There are a lot of external organizations that will try to sell you their program. Resist this. This is not something that's going to lead to success in the long term. The fourth thing that I wish every CEO would consider when starting and revitalizing a lean transformation is, what are we going to measure? So this may sound simple if you've done the first and second steps, but if you haven't done the first and second steps, you end up measuring the wrong types of things. So our area of focus is blank. It is the operating room, and our vision is, wouldn't it be great if we could increase the number of procedures we do per day by 20% within the existing OR suites and resources. Okay, well, that pretty much outlines for you what you're going to be measuring. And then there's going to be some sub measures that come out in support of that. But what happens lots of times is the first and second steps that I mentioned don't get done. And what ends up happening is we try to measure lean. So we measure how many people have been trained, how many activities we've done, what portion of our organization or facilities have started a lean transformation. Or we establish measures around the success of lean, like what's our scores on workplace organization and are they improving? Again, the goal is not to be lean. The goal is your mission. Your organization exists to satisfy your mission. So the goal is of lean is to help you better satisfy that. So we need to be measuring that. The other thing that's really important with regard to measurement, and this gets back to the whole Hawthorne effect, which I won't get into in detail here, but this measurement needs to be being done by the people that are working in that area of focus that are delivering your vision of, wouldn't it be great if. It should not be something that we're measuring in a boardroom and sending to them or posting to them or emailing to them. This needs to be something, even paper and pencil, where they're measuring and tracking themselves so that they're seeing the result of their initiative and they're seeing the result of the time and effort they're putting into changing, and they're getting that reward that's leading to what we've already said is the mission for the organization. And from the CEO perspective, it's critically important that you are involved in reviewing those measures. One of the most effective stories that I know of this, there was a chief operating officer at a very large organization that when we started the lean transformation, what he would do is every Wednesday he would go to the place where they were focusing their efforts, and he would meet with the people that were driving that, and they would present to him on a board where they were tracking it their results towards the metrics of the wouldn't it be great if type of a thing. It's very, very powerful. It's delivering the measurement in the right area, in the right way, by the right people, which motivates the right types of change. The fifth thing that I wish every CEO would consider when starting revitalizing a lean transformation is to think ahead and plan ahead for what obstacles do you anticipate that the team will face, or what obstacles are you seeing early on that the team is facing, and how can I address those obstacles? The goal of a lean transformation is to have all of your employees learning how to transform your organization to lean. So the goal is to create a learning organization, and people learn best by doing, by making changes, by implementing things that are driving the right types of metrics towards the vision that you've created within this focus area. And so if the goal then is to create a learning organization, they learn by doing, what are the challenges that they're going to run into to actually employ some of these changes? Do I have the right support structures? Do I have the right support personnel? Are there things that I need to be doing to remove some of those roadblocks even before they get started? So again, none of this is is going to in and of itself guarantee lean transformation success, but these are the five things that I firmly believe from my 30 years of working with organizations that if the leaders of organizations, if the CEOs have a solid plan for each of these five areas as they begin their lean transformation, or if they've got a lean transformation they want to revitalize, so as part of the revitalization, these are the things that are going to properly prepare the environment and allow for the strongest likelihood of success in your lean transformations. Again, thank you so much for listening to me today, and again, the book, The Journey, that I just recently published, has further detail on each of these guidelines, plus some other things, and it talks through the rationale behind a lot of these things. So I would encourage you to get the book. Thank you very much for listening, and best of luck with your lean transformation.